chodesh b'nei shvai, reishis chochma yiras adonai, seichel tov l'chol eiseihem, tilosei amedus la'ad. First, we should see the total, complete victory of Yidden in Eretz Yisrael. And we should see it now. Okay. So we're in the booklet, and we were up to, we started the last part, which is number 15, that the Rebbe speaks about the fact that we all have a spark of moshiach in ourselves. And if each and every one of us reveal the spark of moshiach in ourselves, this will help to reveal the collective moshiach, the moshiach that's literally going to take us out of Golos. So we started off yesterday looking at the chart on page 3. We have the 5 names: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Yechida. These are 5 names of the Neshama, and that's found in the Medrash. But the Chassidus that explains it's not just 5 names, but it's 5 layers of depth that exist within the Neshama. One deeper than the other, and the lowest is Nefesh, and the highest is Yechida.
The lowest the Nefesh?
Right. So maybe I'll explain a little bit, just another thing that it says. For example, Nefesh is the part of the soul that's mainly connected to thought, speech, and action. Ruach is the part of the soul that's connected mainly to emotion. So it's deeper. Neshama is the part of the soul where the intellect is experienced. So that's deeper. Chaya is the part of the soul where a person experiences will and pleasure, which is deeper, and that's actually the source for everything else in the body. The willpower, the pleasure, that's what motivates the way I think, that's what motivates the way I feel. So Chaya is deeper, and Yechida, generally speaking, refers to the essence of the soul. In other words, all these things we just mentioned, thought, speech, action, emotion, intellect, even the will, all these are manifestations of the soul. Then there's the essence, which is the source of everything. And that is Yechida. That's the essence of the soul. So this level of the soul, which is called Yechida, is also referred to as the spark of Mashiach in a person. I want to explain that a little bit. What does it mean, spark of Mashiach? In a simple way to explain it, we know that the time of Mashiach is a time where there won't be any more evil in the world, there won't be any more negativity within a person, which means we'll all have the desire to do what Hashem wants. We'll all have enjoy and have pleasure just from things that are positive and not from anything that's negative. And there won't be any negativity in the world. Mashiach will take us out of Golus. So basically, Golus means things that are negative, and geula, redemption, is things that are positive in the spiritual sense. And as a result of that, there'll also only be things positive in the physical sense. People will be healthy, people will be happy, there won't be any wars, there won't be any hate, there won't be any competition, there won't be any hunger. So on a personal level, that's the part of my neshama that is not affected by all the negative things in the world. The part of my neshama that's sort of above it all, that transcends all these negative things. And that's the part of my neshama that will draw out within me the ability to overcome all these negative things. Which means when we see that there's a person, as we're seeing this lately, not only a person who is not involved in Torah mitzvahs, people who clearly declared themselves that they were anti-Yiddishkeit. For some people, man, they literally had a passion of hate towards people that observe Torah and mitzvahs. And yet, something happens, and to many people, it happened in these months after October 7th, and they turn around and they embrace, maybe not everything, but they embrace. They want to put on tefillin, they want to put on tzitzis, they want to keep Shabbos, they want to bake challah, they want to light candles. The answer to how this is possible is because there's a part of the soul that never changes. There's a part of the soul that always remains pure and always remains in connection to Hashem. In fact, that's really the essence of the soul. And therefore, really, if that part of the soul, if we'd be feeling it all the time consciously, we'd all be tzaddikim. But it's hidden. But sometimes that part of the soul succeeds to sort of break through the barriers, break through with things that are blocking it. And that's when the person gets this desire to do tshuva, to connect to Hashem, to overcome all sorts of things that were before interfering. So on a personal level, that's the part within me, that's the moshiach in me, that brings me and helps me overcome my limitations, overcome my flaws, my weaknesses, and to do things in a way that Hashem wants. So, yes, yes.
After the came back, and lost everything, he came back with nothing. So he said that he's not believer. He's like totally like kibbutznik, left me, doesn't believe in anything. And in captivity, the first day he was there, he started saying Shema every day, and he said he just discovered Hashem. He just discovered Emunah. He just said, I never felt like this before, and he didn't even know how to explain where it came from.
Himself, where it is, right? He didn't know where it's coming from, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And this is happening all over. This weekend we had shluchas, and I spoke to a number of them, and I think you probably know this already, where they say that today in a lot of places on campus, they're there for years, but today things are very different. Like people are coming and asking to put on film, or people are coming, they want to be involved. Last time when you had a schlep, now people are coming to them, which means it had a reverse effect on a lot of people, the anti-Semitism that they want to identify. But still, if I don't have it in me, where's it coming from? So the answer is because in me there is a part of my neshama that under no circumstances could be touched, could be weakened, could be affected. And then if there's a trigger, when that comes out, that's what happens. And that's why it's called the spark of Mashiach in us. So again, I want to do the words inside of the Sikha, and then I'll explain more. What does it mean practically? How do I reveal the spark of Mashiach in me? What does that mean on a practical level? So we were on the page 1, that's the Sikha where it speaks about this. And also we started to speak about the fact that there were 5 people. And that's the other chart, by the way, chart on page 4, where it says, David HaMelech, King David, Eliyahu HaNavi, that's Eliyahu the prophet, Moshe Rabbeinu. What does that mean? So what that means is, it's connected to what we learned about yesterday, that remember we said that we all have a collective identity. Again, if you go into this according to Chassidus, it's much more than that. It's not just an identity, like let's say American people have their collective identity. Every country, the people of the country have a collective identity. I'm Russian, I'm Ukrainian, I'm French, and I'm American, and I'm English, and so on and so forth. But Yidden, it's deeper than that. In essence, we all, on a neshama level, we all share one neshama. In other words, the fact that there are millions and billions of Jews throughout the ages is like the different details in one soul. And some people are connected to the brain of the soul, to the emotion of those souls. to these faculties, to those faculties, but it's just like in a human body. There are 613 parts of the body, 248 organs, and each one has its function. Each one is unique, but together they constitute the human body. So too, even though we each have our individual souls, but we're all part of one collective soul spiritually. In fact, Adam Harishon, the first man, Adam, his soul, just like physically, biologically, wasn't he the source of all the people that were born later? Also spiritually, his soul contained in it all the souls of the future generations. So what it says here is like this: on the collective level, David HaMelech, King David, is like the nefesh of all the Jewish people. His soul also collectively had in it all the souls of the Jewish people, but that would be like the nefesh. Eliyahu Navi, his soul collectively included all the souls of all the Jewish people, and that corresponds to ruach, the other level of the soul. Moshe Rabbeinu, his soul collectively included all the souls of the Jewish people. That's neshama. And the same is with Chaya. And Mashiach's soul, that's like the yechida of all the Jewish people. In other words, when you're talking about the collective soul, Mashiach is the physical person that in this person, that's sort of the place where the yechida of this collective soul manifests.
Can you repeat who is which? David and with Shama?
Nefesh. If you see on the chart, it says Nefesh. And now it corresponds to different spheres.
Yeah, but who is which and who is Eliyahu Navi?
Ruach. Moshe Rabbeinu is Neshama. Adam Harishon is Chaya. And Mashiach is Yechida. There's a story in the Medrash that Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, he was the leader of the Jewish people in his generation, was once teaching his students, and he noticed that they're not as alert as they should be. So he decided to say something to wake them up. And what did he say? He said that the women in Mitzrayim gave birth to 6 babies at once. But there was one woman, she gave birth to 600,000 babies at once. And that woke them up. And he asked them, do you know who that woman was? And of course, they didn't know the answer. So he said to them, that woman, her name was Yocheved. She gave birth to Moshe. And Moshe is equivalent to 600,000 Yidden. There's another place in the Torah, and this is also brought down in Rashi, where it says that Moshe Rabbeinu did this and this. There's another verse that says the Jewish people did this and this. So the Gemara asks, and Rashi asks, well, make up your mind. Is it Moshe that did it, or is it Jewish people that did it? And whichever is, how come the Torah changes the language? So Rashi says it's to teach us that Moshe Rabbeinu is equivalent to the entire nation. And not only he, but in every generation, the leader of the generation is equivalent to the entire generation. And therefore, when it says Moshe did it, or it says the people did it, it's all the same. What does equivalent mean? It means he represents them, and therefore, when he does something, it's if the entire nation is doing it. That's understood. But according to Kabbalah, and according to Chassidus, it's more than just he represents. That the soul of Moshe actually contains in it all the souls of the generation. That they're all considered, all the souls are like an extension of his soul. It would be like the sun shining and there's sunlight in thousands of different homes, even though each home has light in it separately, but where's all the light coming from? It's all coming from the sun. That means that each body has a soul in it. We have our own soul, but all the souls of every generation come from the Nasi, the leader of their generation. And I'll soon do something inside and tiny to show them. So that soul in every generation, which is the sort of collective soul of the whole generation, that soul is also considered the yechida. That on the collective level, that soul is the yechida of all the Jews. And there are many thousands of Jews there, the nefesh. Other thousands are the ruach. Maybe the people that are more intellectual belong to this category. Those that are more emotional belong to a different category. Those that are not intellectual, not so emotional, but more practical belong to the nefesh category. But the leader of every generation, or whoever he may be, is always the yechida of the generation. That's considered the essence of the collective soul. Where's the source for this? The source for this is in the Zohar. But just to see it inside in Tanya, I put here page 6 and 7 is a few pages from Tanya, 6, 7, and 8. So let's do it inside, very short. In this part of Tanya, it's chapter 42, the Alter Rebbe discusses that there are two levels of fear of Hashem. One is called a higher level, and one is referred to as the lower level, Yira Ilah, Yira Tata. So here he's discussing the lower level. The higher level is something which is reserved for special people who have special abilities, and they could reach that higher level. But the lower level is expected of everyone to reach. So now it starts off like this. Again, we're looking at page 6 and it's chapter 42 from the line that says, in the light of what has already been said on the subject of the lower level of fear, one will clearly understand the Talmudic comment on the verse. There's a pasuk that says, and now Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu speaking to the Jewish people, says, now Israel, what does Hashem, your God, want from you? All that he wants is fear of Hashem. That's all. So the Gemara says, is fear such a small thing that you make it sound like there's nothing special? So the Gemara answers, yes. In the case of Moshe, in other words, for Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a small thing. And that's why he said to them, what's the big thing? Hashem is only asking for you to have fear of him. That's all. So the Alter Rebbe asked the obvious question. Next page, 609. Superficially, this answer seems to be that Moshe Rabbeinu is telling them that because for him it's simple, therefore he's expecting it of them. At first glance, the answer of the Gemara is incomprehensible. The verse asks, what does Hashem require of you, meaning all the Jewish people? So the Indian is, that's next line. I'm not going to do the small words, just the words that are bigger, because that's the translation of Tanya. The smaller words are already, the author is explaining things, the one who published this in English. The explanation, however, is as follows. These are the words of Tanya. Each and every soul of the house of Israel compromises within it something of the quality of our teacher, Moshe, peace unto him. For he is one of the 7 shepherds, which means in Gemara there's a concept that just like a shepherd feeds the Jewish people, there are 7 tzaddikim that they are providing spiritual nurturing to all the Jewish people. Hamamshichim, back to the English, who they cause vitality and godliness to flow to the entire community of the souls of Israel, and that's why they're called shepherds. So just like a shepherd feeds this sheep with food, they feed us spiritually. And even though there are 7 shepherds, our teacher, going to page 610, our teacher Moshe compromises them all. In other words, he includes all of them. And he is called the faithful shepherd. This means that he draws down the quality of das to the community of Israel. Das means that they're able to know and be cognitive of Hashem. Every person, according to the source of their soul and their spiritual capacity, and how much their soul is rooted into the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu. So that's with Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's go to page 611 at the bottom. In addition, and beyond this pervasive influence to the community as a whole, there descends in every generation sparks from the souls of our teacher Moshe, which means in every generation there are righteous people that their soul is an extension of Moshe's soul. They clothe themselves in the body and soul of the sages of that generation, who are also called the eyes of the generation. and they impart knowledge to the people that they may know the greatness of Hashem and serve Him with heart and soul. Yes, I won't go into the other things, these are more details, but just the idea that in every generation, all the Jews of that generation are considered one soul collectively, and then there's tzaddikim in the generation, and specifically one tzaddik, that he contains within him all the souls of the generation. In fact, he is the one that sort of inspires and provides spiritual nurture to all the souls in the generation. And that's why his soul is like the yechida, the essence of the souls of that generation. So now we come to the question that I mentioned before, and that is, so how do you develop yechida? What do you do? So somebody who's like far from Judaism or anti-Judaism, and he says, okay, let me turn around. Okay, he's developing yechida. By the way, another way where you see yechida revealed is when people have mesiras nefesh. If God forbid, people are threatened with their life, and they're told, if you don't bow down to this idol or you don't join this other religion, then their life is being threatened. And people say, I'm ready, no matter what, I'm not giving up my connection to Hashem. That also comes from yechida, because that's something which normally wouldn't be happening. The desire for survival is also the essence of a person. Everybody wants to live. So if a person would be threatened, normally they would think of all sorts of ways and excuses to just find reason to stay alive. The fact that a person could be ready to give up his life for Hashem can only come from one place, and that's the yechida, because yechida is unlimited. Its love for Hashem is unconditional. But God forbid, we're not looking for that kind of situation. So in a normal situation, how could we reveal our yechida? And what does it mean? So there's a few things that these things come from yechida. One of them, as I mentioned before, is tshuva. Everybody on every level. When a person does tshuva, which means, what does tshuva mean? I did something that was inappropriate, and therefore it caused a certain blemish on my soul. It caused a certain damage to the soul. So how could I compensate for that? How would I correct it? And the answer is, when a person does tshuva, that's also coming from the yechida, and that is the part of the soul that's untouched, unblemished, cannot be damaged. And when that's sort of revealed, that is able to replenish whatever is lacking in the other parts of the soul. Think of it that way. Like there's a mashal given in Chassidus that if you have a river or a well, sometimes it dries up. There's no more water. What do? You know, everybody probably in this class has a well in their backyard. In the olden days, everyone had wells, and that's where they got water from. So they knew what to do. What did they do? You dig deeper and deeper. And there's no way in the world that if you don't dig deep enough, there's going to be new water, and that water will rise, fill the well, and now you have water again. And the same with the river. If the river dries up and you dig deeper, the water will start flowing again. So spiritually, I did an avera, I caused a certain blemish on my soul. But when I do tshuva, which means I dig deeper into my soul, that rises and that sort of replenishes everything that was missing and everything that's lacking. So therefore, tshuva in general is also something that comes from yechida. Another thing comes from yechida. We spoke about this numerous times, that one of the things that strengthens, that's very instrumental in bringing Mashiach sooner, is the mere fact that you have emunah in Mashiach. And one of the places we know this, and we actually earlier in the year we came across this, is that it's similar to what happened in Egypt. In Egypt, you're probably aware that there were people that didn't go out of Egypt, right? You know that part of the story? And they're the ones who died during the plague of darkness. Why didn't they go out? Why didn't they merit to go out? It wasn't just because they were not nice people. There's something more specific. Right, they didn't believe Moshe that really this is a message from Hashem and we're going out. Which means the fact that they didn't believe, that denied them the merit to be able to go out. On the other hand, the Gemara says the Jewish people went out of Egypt in the merit of the women of that generation. And what was the merit of the women? They were the ones that were strong in Amunah, and they were the ones who strengthened their husbands to have Amunah. So in the merit of Amunah, we go out. The ability to have Amunah in general. What does Amunah mean? It doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. I don't know how, but I believe in I believe in Hashem, or I believe in Mashiach. If you talk to a normal, rational, logical person and you tell them Mashiach is coming any moment and the world is going to change, they'll say, I hope you have a nice day and you need a good vacation, relax, and so on. What are you talking about? What change? When change? Look what's going on. So Emunah has to come from a place that's also a place that transcends logic, transcends all sorts of questions, all sorts of challenges. It's something which I just believe. And where does that come from? That comes from the essence of the soul. So when a person strengthens their emunah in Mashiach, that comes from the Yechidah. There's another thing that comes from Yechidah that's relevant today. Why is it relevant today? Because today is Rosh Chodesh. In addition to that, it's Rosh Chodesh Adar. And we know that every month in the Jewish calendar has something unique. That this is the unique sort of property or quality of this month. And what is it about Adar? Adar is simple. So the halacha is, it says in Shulchan Aruch, this is not just Hasidic teaching, this is Shulchan Aruch, that when Adar comes, we're supposed to increase in simcha, in joy. So you see that even the actual word itself, it's a challenge over here. Let's get over here. This is how you spell simcha in Hebrew. Shin, mem, ches, hey. Or you can spell it this way. Sameach. That's joy. How do you spell Mashiach? Mem, Shin, ches. Same word. Just switch the letters around. And that's Mashiach. Even though there's a yud here, but the main root letters of this word, of simcha, the root letters of Mashiach are the same. Mem, Shin, and ches. Now the connection between these two things are, first of all, on a very simple level, the only time that we really have true joy is only when Mashiach comes. Because now, no one has true joy. Even if one thing is working for me, but something else isn't working. Person has a lot of money, but he might have aggravation in a different area of life. He's not married, or he doesn't have a good marriage. If he has a good marriage, he's having issues with his children. If he has no issues with his children, he's having issues with his boss at work. There's always something in this world until Mashiach comes. That's that. People have all these good things. He has a problem with his health. There's no such person. I remember once hearing that there was this mother who went into Yechidus with her daughter. And she told the Rebbe that my daughter is having a very hard time finding a shidduch, and I'm asking the Rebbe for a blessing. So the Rebbe asked the daughter, so what are you looking for? She gave the Rebbe a description of Mr. Perfect. He's smart and he's kind. What?
Right behind you. We wrote all the list of what we want.
Okay. You got it. Okay, I didn't have to talk. Respect the family. By the way, there's more to that list. The whole Pirkei Avos list.
Oh, there was more.
Oh, yes. The whole Pirkei Avos list that I gave you, all the good character traits, that he's kind, and he's this, and he's that. And after she finished, the Rebbe said, people like that you only find in a book, not in real life. There's nobody that's perfect. Begashmi is, Baruchni is, in character traits, intellectually. And even if everything would be perfect, even if everything would be perfect in my life, but what about other people? How could I be happy when, God forbid, this is happening to this person, that person? So number one, there can't be complete joy until Mashiach comes. That's number one. But there's also another reason. There's a famous quote, which is you'll hear it a lot during this month, because it's the month of Simcha. And that quote is that Simcha breaks all barriers. Means when people are happy, They are ready to overlook things that normally this bothers them, that bothers them, the other thing bothers them. But when a person's with simcha, when they're happy, they're so lifted that they can overcome a lot of these things that normally would limit them, with these sort of barriers that's sitting in their lives, even to the extent that people have a bad relationship with someone, that they don't get along with someone, they got into a fight, and this person really did something to them, and that's why they hate each other. But yet, when a simcha comes around, people will sort of let go, invite the person to the wedding. Okay, come, let's forget it. Bygones are bygones. It's brought down that even kings, when they had a simcha, a son or a daughter got married, they would pardon prisoners. They just wanted to forgive, forget. There's a certain feeling when a person's with simcha that they don't want to be limited. And we also find with ourselves that when a person's in a mode of simcha, I can get myself to do things that normally I wouldn't do. Normally I feel limited, I can't do this. We had quite a few stories here in school over all the years that I've been here. Baruch Hashem, I had more than one, I can't say dozens, but quite a few stories of girls that came here because their sister or cousin became religious. She was invited to the wedding, and she was so inspired by the wedding that she decided, this is the kind of life that I want. Just because people are dancing. Obviously, there's something inside, but the simcha lifted her above her limitations, and she really felt, I mean, obviously she felt something here that she doesn't see in the outside world, and as a result of that, but it's simcha paras geder. So again, the connection to Mashiach is, when Mashiach is a person, by the way, one of the name of the individual that the King Mashiach will come from, which tribe does Mashiach come from? Yehuda. Which son of Yehuda is the ancestor of Mashiach? I don't expect you to remember that, but we did have it in Chumash. Who? David HaMelech. And let's go back even before. Yehuda himself had sons, and one of the sons, he is the ancestor of Mashiach, and his name was Peretz. Peretz, and that's the same word as Simcha Poretz Geder. Peretz in Hebrew means to break through barriers. That's the nature of Mashiach. He's going to come and break through barriers. Imagine, no hate, no competition, no hunger, no wars. People are getting along with each other, and people are happy within themselves. So, on a personal level, being besimcha is that also comes from the spark of Mashiach. So it works both ways. When the spark of Mashiach is revealed, I'm besimcha. And also it works reverse. By being besimcha, I bring out the spark of Mashiach in me. And that's where that unlimited feeling comes from. Another thing that brings out the spark of Mashiach in a person is studying the part of Torah that corresponds to Yechidah. So in the chart that I gave you, there's another chart on page 5. And it shows that just like there are 5 layers to the soul, there are 5 layers of depth in Torah. The first one is called pshat, that's the literal meaning of what it says in the Torah. Then there's remez. Remez means like gematria, things that are hidden codes in the Torah. Neshama is what we call homiletical, like when you talk about a thing in the Torah that represents this idea, represents another idea, that's called drush. Sod is Kabbalah, the hidden secrets, the mystical secrets. And then Chassidus corresponds to Yechidah. So therefore, when I study the Torah on a simple level, I reveal the nefesh of my soul. When I study Torah on the level of remez, the gematrias and all that, I reveal the ruach. When I study Kabbalah, I reveal the chaya. When I study Chassidus, I reveal the Yechidah, which is the spark of Mashiach in us. So by us revealing the spark of Mashiach within ourselves, and by the way, there are a lot of other things. In general, when a person gives up things of themselves for others, like Avos Yisrael, whether I'm giving up something material, or giving up my own ability to grow spiritually, I give that up in order to teach other people Torah, that's also coming from a very deep place in the soul that's ready to let go of my benefits and do what Hashem wants. And basically that is also connected to Yechida. There are different levels how things manifest, but in general, this is the idea that revealing the Yechida, ultimately, if everyone reveals their Yechida, or if enough people reveal their personal Yechida, to that we get the collective Yechida. And then it takes us out of Golos. So that's why now there's a strong focus on Simcha. There's a strong focus on Amun and Mashiach, and a strong focus on spreading Chassidus as much as possible. And of course, on Tshuva. Any questions? I just want to mention that today is also a special day. If you read it or seen it online, you know that one of the things that Rabbi instituted was to study Rambam. Every day, a little part of Rambam. And today is the day that we're talking about people all over the world. Tens of thousands of people that are studying Rambam. Today is being finished. The Rebbe also made a request that whenever this comes, the finishing, there should be a gathering to celebrate it. And there will be two kinds of gathering. One, in each city, get everybody together. And the other, each individual shul, each individual yeshiva, each individual group that studies Rambam should have their own celebration of Siyum. So here in school, next week, Friday, we're going to make a Siyum. It's a special day next week, Friday. It's Moshe Rabbeinu's birthday. And therefore, we're going to celebrate that with the Siyum. But here in Crown Heights, the big Siyum is going to be Sunday. And there'll be buses. I mean, it's going to be not too far away from here. If you want to jog, you can jog. You want to walk, you can walk. But it's probably about a 15-minute walk from here. But there'll be buses taking people. And you can look online and COL or other place online, they'll tell you the details where the bus is stopping. I think it's all on President Street. So if you're in the dorm, you don't have to walk too far. And the bus about 7:30. But the Rebbe requested and said that when people get together in a group and unite in doing something positive, we have no idea the impact it has on the world and definitely on bringing Mashiach. And therefore, everyone should make an effort to be part of that. And next week, when we have this gathering, I'll explain more what's the significance of learning Rambam and why the Rebbe chose that, and what's the significance of making a siyum as well. A good Shabbos, everybody, and a good chodesh, and keep the simcha going. Every day has to be more than the day before. So the first day, don't start off too strong because you won't be able to keep up a little bit, and tomorrow more.
Well, not also Judith is leaving. Judith.
Oh, you're also leaving?
That's your last Sunday.
Okay, so goodbye. It's a pleasure having you both.
Thank you.
That's not around. Let me see if that's true. So this is your room. Travels, and then you should show them the flachas. Okay.